We're going to take some time to talk about push-ups and talk about some of the common faults that we see and also some of the cues you can use to correct those. Push-ups are a great transferring skill, which means that you can use it to do other things like a bench press, obviously, any sort of a dip movement, or even an overhead press is a great thing that if we get our push-ups locked in, all those things will improve. So one of the things that we see with push-ups is that people don't keep their trunk rigid enough. When we're doing a push-up, we want to have a rigid lever so we can produce force through our shoulders and through our chest. So what we want to do is we want to make sure our abdominals are engaged, our butt muscles are engaged, and our thighs are engaged. That way, when we go to move, we don't lose any of that energy through our trunk, and that motion really comes out of the shoulders. The other thing that happens is that people don't want to get into a good position with their arms being externally rotated, and that results in them kind of pointing their elbows out to the side. That doesn't line up our shoulders. Yes, our chest muscles, our pecs, which are big muscles, are meant for that movement, that push forward, but they're also important stabilizers. And if those pec muscles can stabilize, then our triceps, which job is to straighten the elbow, can work more efficiently. So when we get into our position, let's start in a full push-up position. We're going to make sure that our abdominals, our glutes, and our quads are all engaged. And we can start slightly shifted back because it's going to let me unload my arms so I can get my shoulders into a good position. So I'm going to start with my hands a little bit forward, but I'm only doing that so I can externally rotate those hands, so I can screw my arms down into the ground. That's going to point the front of my elbow forward, and it's going to point my armpit forward. So when I get into that position, I want to screw those arms in, and then I can shift my weight slightly forward, so I'm loaded up over my hands. The position I want to load over my hand is actually slightly in front of my wrist. Too many people are loaded directly over their wrist, and our weight should actually be slightly forward of the wrist. So I get into my push-up position, I screw my arms in, I shift slightly forward, and then when I come down, I want to keep my elbows tight to my side. I don't want my elbows pointing out to the, flaring out to the sides. So my push-up should be locked in, shifting forward, and in the bottom position, my forearm should be close to a vertical position, and then I can push straight back up with that. So I'm going to drop down, forearm is vertical, and push straight down. Now you can see the fall, if I point my elbows out, right, I kind of lose my strength right away, and I lose my trunk stability. And then it's harder for me to push back out of that without re-engaging my core to keep myself stable. The other thing is, if we don't have good mobility in a shoulder or a wrist, some people might want to point their fingertips towards the outside, and that's really a mobility issue more than anything. We do want our fingertips to be pointed forward, whole trunk engaged, slightly shifted forward in front of our wrists, and that way when we drop down, our forearms are in a vertical alignment. Now, if we can't do all that, the way we want to scale that is really more with an elevated surface rather than dropping to our knees. Once we drop to our knees, it's hard to keep our trunk engaged, and there's really no reason for our trunk to be engaged. So yes, this is a good motion for my triceps, but because I'm not getting everything else engaged, my chest isn't getting engaged. So if I want to scale down, I'm going to do that same idea, where I'm going to start with my weight shifted slightly back so I can now screw my arms into this externally rotated position. Then I'll shift my weight forward so it's slightly in front of my wrist. Abdominals engaged, glutes engaged, thighs engaged. Drop down and push straight out. So the motion is, if we were going to throw a ball, throw a chest pass, right, we would have our hands kind of tight, our arms tight to our sides, and we'd throw it. And if we were going to catch it, we'd absorb it right here, right? We wouldn't catch that pass with our elbows shooting out to the side, or we wouldn't catch our pass with our elbows being up really high with our hands by our head, right? We would ideally catch it right here. That's our athletic position that we want to be in. That's where we want to catch that ball. So those are some things that we want to work on. Make sure that you externally rotate those arms to lock them in. Make sure your weight is shifted slightly in front of your wrist, and that when you drop down, your forearm should be in mostly vertical alignment. If you don't have someone to spot you, take a video of yourself, watch it, and you'll be able to see if that forearm stays vertical or not, and that'll kind of point a lot of the cues out. If we get that lined up the right way, our muscles are going to work more efficiently, and our push-ups are going to work better, which is going to transfer into all our other skills and just make us more athletic.